Aloha. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A hearty welcome and thanks to those joining us tonight. VNTV hopes to enrich our life by showing how our community can best adapt culturally to new life in America. We are one of the voices for the Vietnamese community in Hawaii. VNTV does its best to preserve and promote our culture, so it is nurtured to our future generations. We believe that children always look up at their parents as their heroes, so parents need to be the best of their models. Culture plays a significant part in shaping the characters of our children. That's the future of the Vietnamese community in America. Mahalo.
Xin kính chào quý vị, VNTV và gia đình VNTV xin cảm tạ quý vị đã đón xem chương trình tối nay. Hy vọng rằng những hội đoàn đoàn thể khác cũng như những tôn giáo khác, mỗi nơi, mỗi nhóm đều có một chương trình TV để chúng ta cùng đồng cho thấy rằng đó là người Việt Nam của chúng ta có một sự phát triển rất là mạnh mẽ. Ngọc Nhung xin kính chào quý vị.
Here come to order, please. Good afternoon, and thank you for your patience. And this afternoon, you're before the Committee on Public Coalition of Hawaii as a way to promote their cultural and economic contribution to the city of Honolulu. We have speakers, and okay, Mr. G.E. Castanetti.
I'm Gene Castagnetti, Colonel, United States Marine Corps Commanding, appearing as just a citizen. You might have seen me in other capacities, but I'm just here as a citizen. I want to thank the chair for allowing us to come before this august committee today to discuss the opportunity to present testimony regarding the traditional Vietnamese flag. Our purpose is to seek a resolution from the City and County of Honolulu, the capital of Hawaii, in recognizing the traditional Vietnamese cultural and heritage flag as the official symbol of the Vietnamese American community in Hawaii. Like the American Stars and Stripes, the traditional Vietnamese flag is laden with symbolism and historic meaning, which makes the Vietnamese Americans feel a great deal of pride and a bond with its internationally recognized colors. If you ask students, businessmen, clients, historians, they will tell you that the gold and red colors are the historic symbol of a free Vietnam. American veterans will tell you it's the flag under which hundreds of thousands of Vietnamese and American soldiers fought shoulder to shoulder, sacrificed and died in pursuit of freedom and the self-determination for the Vietnamese people. In fact, the survival of the traditional Vietnamese flag is in fact the very survival of the idea of freedom and remains the ideal of free men around the world. As a member of the American Vietnamese Coalition, we have collected over 500 signatures in favor of this resolution from business leaders, American veterans, Vietnamese expatriates, community leaders, former state judges, lawyers, a Vietnam Medal of Honor recipient, POWs, and hundreds of others everyday citizens. Today, the members of the community will present testimony in support of this resolution. You'll hear about the history of the flag from Mr. Nguyen Vian Ten. You'll hear about the American veterans' view of the flag from Louis Parker, president of the Vietnam Veterans of the American Group here in Hawaii. You'll hear the views of a Vietnamese second-generation American, Miss Tai Han Phan, a Punahou graduate and student at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. You'll learn about the Vietnamese traditional flag by the Vietnam Veterans Motorcycle Club here in Hawaii, Mr. Jesse Baker. You'll hear about the economic contributions of the Vietnamese community in Hawaii from Mr. Van Khan, a Stanford University professor, presented by a Miss Nina Nguyen Nguyen, who is also the director of Vietnamese television in the community. Mr. Tom Sterling, Esquire, a lawyer, a Vietnam veteran and president of the Vietnam Leadership Program, will address the Vietnam Service Medal. And Mr. Dong Von Doi, a former Republic of Vietnam soldier and former prisoner of war, will attest to why we protect that flag. Brigadier General retired Erwin Crockett will address the cultural bonding within the Vietnamese community, and the traditional flag as a symbol will be addressed by Mr. Nguyen Dat Tien. We thank you for this opportunity to testify and look for a favorable resolution.
Kính chào quý vị nghị viên thành phố Honolulu, tiểu bang Hawaii.
Good afternoon, city member of City and County of Honolulu, State of Hawaii.
Tôi tên là Nguyễn Văn Tiến. Tôi rất hân hạnh có mặt ngày hôm nay.
My name is Nguyễn Văn Tiến. I'm so honored to be here today.
Sau lịch sử Việt Nam vào năm 1540 trước Tây lịch, hai bà Trưng đã ngồi trên mình voi và phát ngọn cờ vàng đánh đuổi xâm lăng Tàu và giành độc lập cho Việt Nam.
In 40 AD, the Trần sister on the elephant's back waved the yellow flag to fight against the Chinese invaders to regain independence for Vietnam.
Từ lúc đó, cờ vàng được xuất hiện đầu tiên trong lịch sử Việt Nam.
Since that year, the yellow flag appeared to be the first time in the Vietnamese history.
Triều đại khải định từ năm 1916-1925, cờ vàng được thêm hai sọc đỏ nằm ngang.
In the Khaiden dynasty from 1916 to 1925, the two horizontal red stripes were added to the flag.
Vào năm 1948, Hoàng đế Bảo Đại ra lệnh hoàn tất thêm sọc đỏ thứ ba vào ngày 02 tháng 6 năm 1948. Tướng Nguyễn Văn Xuân ký sắc lệnh ban hành cờ vàng ba sọc đỏ là cờ quốc gia Việt Nam tự do.
In June 1948, the Emperor Bảo Đại finished adding the third red stripe on the June 2nd, 1948. The Brigadier General Nguyễn Văn Xuân signed the ordinance to specify the characteristic of the Free Vietnamese national flag.
Là cờ vàng là cờ truyền thống này đã được áp dụng cho toàn đất nước Việt Nam từ Bắc tới Nam vào năm 1948. Liên Hiệp Quốc công
The yellow flag with three horizontal red stripes were applied to the entire nation running from north to south of Vietnam.
vào năm 1948. Liên Hiệp Quốc công nhận lá cờ này là cờ của Việt Nam, quốc gia Việt Nam.
Okay. In 1950, the United Nations recognized this flag, the national flag of Vietnam.
Nền cờ vàng là tượng trưng cho quê hương đất tổ và màu da của dân tộc Việt Nam. Ba sọc đỏ tượng trưng cho đất nước Việt Nam gồm ba miền Bắc, Trung và Nam.
The yellow background represents the ancestral land and the skin color of Vietnamese people. The three red stripes represent the three regions of Vietnam, North, Central and South.
Khi chúng tôi đến Hawaii, chúng tôi tiếp tục vinh danh lá cờ cổ truyền thống Việt Nam để bảo tồn văn hóa, lịch sử và di sản của tổ tiên người Việt Nam, hậu truyền lại cho các thế hệ đi sau.
Since we came to Hawaii in 1975, we have continued honoring the Vietnamese traditional flag to preserve our Vietnamese culture, heritage and tradition for many generations to come.
Bà Cà Thây Nguyễn là một người Việt Nam bị chết vì anh trắc vào năm 2001 tại New York, đã yêu cầu cộng đồng Việt Nam hãy dùng lá cờ truyền thống của Việt Nam bọc lấy lưng cũ của bà.
A former Vietnamese refugee, Miss Kathy Nguyen, died of anzac in New York in 2001, requested that her casket must be covered by the Vietnamese traditional flag.
Chúng tôi cũng sẽ theo ý kiến của bà Nguyễn, vì chúng tôi chỉ biết vinh danh lá cờ này, nó là biểu tượng của sự tự do.
We would do the same thing like Miss Kathy Nguyen, since we only honor this flag, it represents the symbol of freedom.
Kính thưa quý vị nghị viên thành phố và quan hạt Honolulu, chúng tôi xin quý vị thông qua nghị quyết này. Chân thành cảm ơn quý vị.
We request all of you to pass a resolution to honor the traditional Vietnamese flag. Many thanks to you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council. My name is Louis. A. Parker. I'm a Master Sergeant, retired United States Air Force. I presently hold the position of President of Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 858. We're the only Vietnam Veterans Association, Vietnam Veterans of America chapter here in the state. The VVA has over 50,000 individual members. We're in over 43 states, 525 local chapters, and we're a not-for-profit corporation. We have over 100 members here in our chapter in Hawaii, as well as members at large on neighbor islands. Our VVA logo, which I proudly wear, is a symbol. In the center of its design is the golden yellow field with 3 yellow stripes, representative of the flag of the former Republic of Vietnam. Many in the local Vietnamese community believe that the Republic of Vietnam flag will be restored whenever the communist regime ends in Vietnam. The same way, the Russian flag of pre-1917 era has been raised again on the Kremlin since 1992, when the Soviet Union disintegrated. Recognition by the City Council of the flag of the community should be seen as a reassurance of the freedom of speech rights, an expression that all Americans enjoy, as well as our way of embracing the Vietnamese community into our Ohana. We favor a resolution that states or contains words to the effect that, quote, the people of the former Republic of Vietnam were valiant in their resistance to the aggression of the communist North Vietnam, and that refugees from the Republic of Vietnam who immigrated to the United States of America and settled in the state of Hawaii should be honored and remembered for their sacrifices, such that the only flag depicting the local Vietnamese community's heritage and culture be the flag of the former Republic of Vietnam, which contains a golden yellow field with 3 red horizontal stripes, and that it be recognized as the official flag of the Hawaii's Vietnamese American community. Almost 250,000 Vietnamese fighting men of the anti-communist side have sacrificed their lives under their flag, just as over 58,000 Americans have sacrificed theirs under the Stars and Stripes in that same struggle. The 3 red horizontal bars on a gold and yellow background shall continue to symbolize the ongoing struggle for human rights and dignity for their people. Thank you for your time.
Thai Han Nguyen Han. Thank you for being here. Proceed, please.
Thank you. Aloha, my name is Tai Hang Wing Fan. A graduate of Punahou School, and currently I'm a student at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Today I just want to express my feelings to you towards the traditional Vietnamese flag. Let me just start by saying that I feel like I live in 2 worlds. I live between cultures. I live by the American dream, the American life, and I'm pursuing higher education. At the same time, I'm living as a Vietnamese American, simply trying to perpetuate my culture. I strongly believe in preserving culture, whether it be Vietnamese or Hawaiian, seeing that I've grown up in Hawaii, I've had a lot of influence, and I am living between cultures. The Vietnamese dream today is to live in a country of freedom. Fortunately, I do. However, I'm aware of the circumstances in which my family lives under in Vietnam. I am fortunate to see many families thrive in America and follow the American dream, as they continue to perpetuate their culture by teaching their children about the country in which they fled. I have learned a great deal about Vietnam, even though I've only visited there once in my life. However, I understand how important it is to help perpetuate my language, culture, and history. Right here in Hawaii, I actively participate in cultural events pertaining to my culture. As these events, the traditional Vietnamese flag will often be flown proudly, representing the Vietnamese community here in Hawaii. When I see the communist flag, it makes me shudder and cringe, and above all things, ashamed. I'm ashamed that my family continues to live in a barbarous country. I'm ashamed that the communist flag represents the country of Vietnam. To me, it represents many violations of human rights. Here in Hawaii, I, the next generation of Vietnamese Americans, feel that the symbolism our traditional flag represents not only the land, earth, or the regions, it represents humanity, culture, our soul, and a bond. a bond which brings different generations and different cultures together. The flag of the United States is a true symbol of a strong-willed country, as the traditional Vietnamese flag represents a true symbol of a free Vietnam. I represent many second-generation Vietnamese Americans living in America today. I feel that it is very important to understand and perpetuate our culture. This flag represents just as much to us as it does to our parents and grandparents. I feel very strongly about our culture. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next testifier, Jesse Baker.
Good afternoon. I'm going to keep this quick, but number one, I'm appearing here as
Please state your name for the record.
Jesse Baker.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
Thank you.
I'm appearing as a patriot. Anyone knows I've got to be old if I was in Korean conflict as well as the Vietnam conflict, but I spent 30 years in the military, and I saw what it means to not be free. The Vietnam Vets motorcycle, just as a little background for me, because a lot of people look at bikers a little differently, but I'm just a patriot. We're in all 50 states, Australia, and Puerto Rico, the largest motorcycle club in the United States. And we're all veterans and proud Americans. We focus on Vietnam vets' needs, problems, and mainly the MIA issues that we try to keep pushing to the front. But our motto is, we fought together, now we ride together. Bikers, all of them, even the younger ones that fought in Kosovo and places like that, love to ride and they love freedom. Again, I stress freedom. Each Memorial Eve, I lead about 400 motorcycles in the Punch Bowl for a candlelight service. This will be our 17th year coming up. The bikers are from many different clubs, independents, majority are veterans, but all are support our country. The candlelight ceremony, we're fortunate we're joined by our free Vietnam brothers and sisters, and I stress free Vietnam. All of Vietnam, I came to respect my South Vietnam brothers and sisters. They want to be free so badly. They were willing to die, and more than 200,000 of them did. And after the communists did take over, well, I ain't going to go into that one, but a lot of you, I'm sure, remember the boat people, they called them, because they left on rafts, canoe, anything to get out. Again, they were willing to die just to be free. So I always urge anyone to recognize the free Vietnam flag. This flag represents a free people, human rights, dignity, just like the American flag represents our freedom and our rights. So I urge the City Council to please pass a resolution recognizing and honoring the Vietnam freedom flag. And I appreciate you listening to me.
Thank you. Members, any questions of previous testifiers? If not, thank you very much. Next testifier, Professor Can Von Nguyen.
I will present this testimony for Professor Nguyễn Văn Can. Okay. To Honorable City Council members of City and County of Honolulu, State of Hawaii. My name is Nguyễn Văn Can, former Deputy Dean, University of Saigon Law School, visiting scholar of Hoover Institution, Stanford University, and co-director of Life History, and chairman of the Board of Americans Vietnamese Coalition in Hawaii. As a special advisor to VNTV Hawaii, of which Ms. Nina Nguyen is the director, I have closely followed up its program, provided it with materials and ideas and guidance, as well to ensure that the contents of the program enrich the multicultural environment and promotion of racial harmony in Hawaii. Today, at this hearing, VNTV and members of Americans Vietnamese Coalition of Hawaii ask for a resolution to recognize Vietnamese Americans' identities under the heritage and traditional freedom flag that symbolized their positive contribution to the state of Hawaii that they have chosen to be their home. On this opportunity, I would like to present my views on these matters. Number one, Vietnamese Americans and their economic activities. The 2000 U.S. Census Bureau showed that there were 8,000 Vietnamese Americans living in Hawaii. Between 1995 and 2000, Immigrants Naturalization Services recorded 2,252 Vietnamese naturalized. Census showed that there were 1,476 firms owned by Vietnamese Americans that generated 132,832,000 in sales receipts. Of these 1,476 firms, 289 employ 510 employees. VNTV culture preservation, education, and programs on interracial activity that lead to full integration of these new immigration into the American mainstream. With almost 100 episodes, VNTV has helped Vietnamese Americans beware of and participate in preservation of their culture and heritage, contribute to education of social, culture, and economic issues to the public. As a result, the quality of our lives is enhanced, and harmony and peace with others in a multicultural and interracial environmental Hawaii is promoted. For example, in our performances, we have exchanged arts with Taiwanese, Hawaiian, and Indo-Chinese groups, especially the Hawaiian Heritage Series held at Honolulu. Vietnamese Americans have learned the success of former Lieutenant Governor of Hawaii, Maisie Hirono, as a role model of an immigration who was originated from a small village of Japan. Vietnamese Americans have been actively participating in such anti-HIV/AIDS program and cooperate with local residents in annual rally for cancer survivors. We follow the lead of many volunteers in doing special works to help the needy seniors. AARP mission is always a good example to Vietnamese seniors. We have cooperated with local residents in annual rally for cancer fight to support and cancer survivors. We honor and salute the Americans who sacrificed their lives for our freedom in America. We donated more than $6,000 to the Red Cross in Hawaii in sharing and supporting victims of September 11. VNTV and community have committed to the annual family parade to show our respect to the family's values in Hawaii, the second homeland of Vietnamese expatriates. In conclusion, Vietnamese Americans have really contributed to the vitality and stability of neighborhoods of Hawaii. We deserve our appreciation and your support on recognition of values of tradition and heritage. We request favorable consideration to pass this resolution for the Vietnamese freedom flag. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, proceed. I'm sorry.
To waste your time.
No. Go ahead.
I'm very pleased for being here to testify before the City Council of Honolulu related to the yellow flag with 3 red stripes. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. I was a former prisoner of war in Vietnam, and I was kept in concentration camp in Vietnam for 13 years. I was granted a political asylum in America in January 1990. I would like to tell you the real story about the yellow flag with 3 red stripes related to my life in America. I was resettled in Boston of Massachusetts. 1 month after I first came to America, the Vietnamese Student Association at Wentworth Institute of Technology in Boston of Massachusetts organized the National Conference for Vietnamese Students in U.S. It was organized for the purpose of how we could continue to keep our own language, art, and tradition for the young generation. I was invited to attend that conference as a special guest of a former POW and district chief at the South Vietnam. Before the conference started, in a stadium of a large conference room, a group of 4 Vietnamese students in a formal uniform stepped out and stood in front of the audience with 2 large American and South Vietnam flags in their hand. The 8 other students in the second and third row, they began to sing the U.S. national anthem and then the South Vietnamese anthem. When the national anthem of South Vietnam began, my emotion was so great that I began to cry. My tear did not stop until the national anthem of the South Vietnam, and there was a moment of silence for Georgia and the people who died for freedom and heritage ended. The question is, why had I cried? I had a lot of emotion for the past, just as when I came home after 13 years in the concentration camp. I knew that I had lost all my family property after the Vietnam War. And I had great loss in my life that my mom passed away while I was in the concentration camp. And even though I left Vietnam in 1990, everything left behind. I had never cried for those suffering. But I cried at this traditional event because my people and I supposed to lose everything, including tradition, art, education, and heritage of the yellow flag with 3 red stripes after the Saigon capital was fell. But now I know that it's still alive here. Hearing the Vietnamese national anthem and seeing the performance by students, I know they have a full respect for the heritage of yellow flag with 3 red stripes. I know they are continuing to keep our own tradition and heritage. After 13 years, I could see it, I could touch it, and the yellow flag will still fly everywhere that the Vietnamese community were living in and doing business. It will always be in my heart. Dear Honorable City Councilor, by passing the resolution to recognize the yellow flag with 3 red stripes, that means you recognize our own tradition, culture, and heritage. And you also recognize the spirit of 500,000 American soldiers who had fought for the freedom and heritage for the Vietnamese, so that 58,000 American soldiers were sacrificed in the Vietnam War. Thank you all for listening to my presentation. My best, respectfully.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Sterling.
Mr. Chairman, council members, I'm Tom Sterling. I'm a Vietnam veteran, a lawyer in town. I'm the chair of the Vietnam Veterans Leadership.